Most games fade in a year or two, but some, they stay alive for 10, 15, even 20 years. It's not just because they're fun, plenty of fun games die fast. These ones use a powerful trick that turns your players into co-developers. In this video, we're breaking down how UGC, user-generated content, can make a game timeless, and how you can build it into your own projects from day one. Because the next game that lives forever could be yours. Why most games fade. Most games, even the great ones, burn bright and then slowly fade out, because they run into three problems. And the first one kills almost every single title. Static content gets stale. BattleBit Remastered went from insanely popular to barely talked about in just months. Same maps, same weapons, once you've done it all, the magic's gone. There's no new updates coming, which is because of Problem 2. Devs can't pump out updates fast enough. Epic Games has thousands of people and can drop a new Fortnite season every few weeks. But small teams, they just can't compete with that pace. Even if they're great devs, there's only so much they can ship. And that leads to problem 3. A player base collapse. When there's nothing new to discover, people drift away. One friend stops playing, then another, until there's no one left to log in with. We've seen it with games like Among Us or Valheim when updates slow down. Momentum dies and it's hard to get back. But a few games dodge this entirely, because they let the players do the work for them. That's the power of UGC, user-generated content, and it's why some games last for decades instead of years. UGC, or user-generated content, is when the players become the developers. It's what turns a good game into a living, breathing platform. Because instead of waiting months for an official update, you got thousands of players adding new maps, new mechanics, new challenges every single day. The benefits? They stack fast. It gives the game infinite replayability. When your game has a constant stream of new experiences, it never really gets old. And with more engaged people, creativity multiplies. Instead of a handful of devs, you got thousands of people experimenting. That's how you get wild ideas like Skyblock in Minecraft or turning Skyrim into a survival horror game. And those wild ideas evolve your game faster than you ever could alone. Players can fix balance issues, add quality of life features, or overhaul entire systems before the next official patch even drops. And the best part? It works for any scale. It's not just giant sandboxes like Minecraft or Skyrim. Stardew Valley players have made tons of mods to enhance the game. Celeste has a thriving custom level scene, and the only reason I still play Beat Saber is because it has thousands of fan-made songs that keep people coming back. UGC turns your players into a never-ending content team. It's why some games can stay alive for decades without a single paid DLC. And the way it works long term is where things get really interesting. The real magic of UGC is that it shifts creativity from the dev team to the player base. Once you release good creation tools, the game can evolve even if the devs take a break. Prison Architect's modding community was thriving years after release, until dev updates stopped entirely. And when that happened, modding slowed to a crawl too. But in games where devs do keep engaging, like RimWorld, every official update sparks a wave of new mods. It's a feedback loop. The community keeps it fresh in ways that devs never would think of. And that's where subcultures start to form. Some players turn RimWorld into a vampire survival horror, others build worlds with all the vanilla expanded mods. Each group develops its own little culture, its own rules, meta, and stories. In Minecraft, you got the Redstoners, the hardcore survivalists, and the modpack grinders. In Skyrim, there's the graphics overhauls purists, the roleplay immersion fans, and the crowd who just want 1,000 quests, even though they only complete 10 of them. These subcultures are powerful, because they give players a home inside your game. And once you got all these subcultures under one roof, something bigger starts to happen. It's called a network effect. The more creators you have, the more content there is, and the more players you attract, which creates even more creators. It's a cycle that feeds itself, and it's really hard to kill once it gets going. That's why Skyrim is still getting brand new questlines 15 years after launch. The modding scene has its own momentum now. Bethesda doesn't even have to push it. It's very hard to hit, but insanely powerful if you can do it. Once your game hits that point, it's not just surviving because of you, it's surviving because of the players. That's the dream. A game that can outlive its dev team, because the community has taken ownership of it. If you want UGC to work, you can't just really tack it on later. You have to design for it from day one. The first step? Make your creation tools intuitive. If your editor looks like it needs a master's degree to operate, you've already lost about 90% of potential creators. Games like Dreams or Roblox nail this. They make creation intuitive. And if you're using Unity's UGC tools, it lowers the barrier for you to set it up and also for the people who want to start experimenting. Second, make sharing frictionless. The easier it is to find and install mods, the faster your UGC scene grows. That's why Steam Workshop is a game changer. It's one click to try something new. Even if you're not on Steam, give players an easy way to discover, download and update community content. A lot of games have their own mod websites or use Nexus mods. Every extra step you remove means more people will actually use it. And finally, reward creativity. If someone spends hours making something incredible in your game, shine a light on it, feature it on your social media, put it in a community spotlight, or run contests for the best creations. That visibility doesn't just make one creator feel valued, it shows everyone else that their work matters. Fortnite Creative promotes the most popular maps right on the game's front page. That's a massive motivator. And once again, the players can earn money from it. The more you highlight and celebrate your community, the more they'll invest back into the game. That's how you turn casual players into long-term creators. It's not just about the tools, it's about the culture you build around them. But here is the part that most people miss about UGC. It's not just good for the players, it's a growth machine for your game. Every time a streamer or YouTuber covers a mod, they're marketing your game for free. They're making content on top of content, and you don't have to spend a cent. And because it's fan-made, it's infinitely more authentic than a trailer. Viewers aren't just seeing what you want to show, they're seeing what's possible. This is how Garry's Mod turned from a Half-Life 2 sandbox into a platform that spawned entire genres. Prop Hunt, Trouble in Terrorist Town, all from the community. That's the second advantage. UGC future-proofs your game. You're basically selling a toolbox for people to create things with. Roblox is basically a storefront of thousands of games inside one game. If players get bored of one, they just jump to another, without ever leaving the platform. And that's the end game. Your title stops becoming a single product and instead becomes an ecosystem. When you build that, you're not competing on a launch window anymore. You're building something players can live in for years, maybe even decades. So what games actually did this well? Let's start with Skyrim. Launched in 2011 and still somehow one of the most played single-player games. Mods turned it from a few playthroughs RPG into a forever game. Players added not only weapons and armor, they built entire worlds. Full questlines like Fallscar, entire new lands like Bruma, survival mods that make Skyrim feel like a hardcore survival sim, and graphic overhauls that make it look like it launched this year. How does this help you? Don't limit your players to tiny cosmetic changes. Let them build something substantial. New levels, new mechanics, or even entirely new modes. Skyrim's creation kit gave players access to the same tools the devs used. That's what made those massive mods possible, and why they've kept Skyrim relevant for 15 years. If you're making a game, think about this. Could you hand over a mini version of your dev tools to the player? Because the more power you give the player, the longer your game will live. If Skyrim shows the power of giving players your tools, then Minecraft shows what happens when you give them a blank canvas. At launch, it was just a survival sandbox. Chop trees, mine some stone and build a house. But community reinvented the game. Skyblock started as a simple challenge. Now, it's an entire game mode, complete with servers, economies and millions of players. Same with minigames. Hunger Games, Bed Wars, parkour maps. None of these were in the base game. They all came from the community. The key lesson here is freedom. Minecraft gave the players enough mechanics to create their own ideas. And when modding exploded, we got things like Pixelmon, which basically turns the game into Pokemon, or RL Craft, which feels more like a survival horror game. If you're making a game, ask yourself, can your mechanics be recombined in new unexpected ways? Because that is where the community will shine. And here's the kicker. Minecraft didn't just give people tools. It gave them a place to share and showcase their creations. Without that, the magic would have stayed hidden on individual hard drives. RimWorld is different from Skyrim or Minecraft. It's a complex colony sim that's easy to learn but hard to master. And it's had a thriving mod scene for almost 8 years. The base game is already strong, a survival management loop with endless emergent stories, but the mods, they push it into a completely different genres. You've got the vanilla expanded series that adds hundreds of items, animals and factions, or if you want totally new gameplay mechanics, you can use hospitality to host guests in your colony, or even a full zombie apocalypse mod. Players even add new races, industrial machines and multiplayer support, none of which exist in the base game. What makes RimWorld's UGC work so well is that the devs actively support the modders. Every update ships with clear modding documentation, and the community gets early access to test compatibility before the final update releases. It's really about making sure that players can keep modding without hitting roadblocks. If you want your game to last, think about this. The easier you make it for your creators to maintain their content after updates, the less likely it is for your game to lose its ecosystem. If you want your game to last forever, then great gameplay isn't enough. You have to hand over the paintbrush to your players. Because when your community can create, share and grow together, your game stops being a product and becomes a world. The next timeless game might not come from a giant studio, it could come from you, if you let your players build it with you.